Alrighty, we are back with insider betting. UFC 309 is this weekend. We got Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson this weekend as well. I'm in New York City for UFC 309. I'm pumped. First things first, though. Jesse, how are we doing today, brother?
I'm great. I'm looking at photos of Mike Tyson on the scale this morning, and it's interesting. We're gonna talk about it a little bit. It's an interesting one. So, but
Buddy
I'm
looks good
excited
at
for Jon
58.
Jones. He's finally back. It's been 2 years since we've seen him, so I am excited about that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Mike looks good at 58. What can I say, man?
He
That's
looks good. He looks good.
yeah,
He looks 58, but he looks good for 58.
true.
I'll say that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Let's start with the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight because it's probably one of like the top. Well, it's definitely the top two fights for this weekend and arguably number one in terms of excitement. I think you were saying that this fight actually is trending better on Google searches right now, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
It's been wild. Like if you go on Google search or Google Trends and you
Yeah.
compare people talking about the Jon Jones fight versus the Mike Tyson fight, I mean, I'm talking like the amount of interest in Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson is way more prevalent in terms of Google searches than it is for UFC 309. That's not to say that like it's going to pull in more viewers and more paper. I know it's on Netflix, so that's not to say it's going to pull in like more overall interest, but it is interesting that that's what we've seen so far this week.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know if it's a pay-per-view? How does that work? Or is it just on Netflix and anybody with a Netflix account can watch?
It's your paid Netflix subscription. Yeah, it's the first time they've ever done a boxing event on Netflix.
That's very cool. That's very
Yeah.
cool. It makes it very easy to watch for everyone. But no, we're not going to give you guys a true analyst opinion here because I don't think you can with a 58-year-old Mike Tyson.
Right.
But when I look at this fight, I'm like you want Mike to win. You want Mike to do better than Jake, but it's almost hard to put money on him. I don't know. I think he's the underdog coming into. No, Jake is the underdog, right?
No. Jake is the favorite, but the odds are actually interesting. It's a minus 200 for Jake, plus 160 for Tyson.
Yeah. Which is pretty close.
Yeah, but the odds used to be. I remember like when the fight was first announced, before Mike had an ulcer flare up over the summer, which hospitalized him, he was like a plus 300 or something. So the odds have actually significantly tightened up over the past few months, which is very interesting. People are putting money on Tyson. I just thought it was interesting that it happened after he was hospitalized.
Yeah.
After he had a medical issue, a medical scare.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be a weird fight. I don't know. Obviously, there was the Mike Tyson, the live training footage, right? Like the open workouts that he was doing. And a lot of people were saying he looks good. Other people were saying, hey, he looks good for like a fighter, but he doesn't look like Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
He looks like he has less balance. He looks slower. But he still looks good. He still looks good, right? It's going to be a very interesting fight. I think it's going to be a lot closer of a fight than people think. I'm probably still going to pick Jake, I want to say, to win, but this is more of like a entertainment fight than go make some money on it, I feel like. But Mike at plus odds is probably the best odds you would have ever gotten at Mike when he fought. So
yeah. I mean, I guess it really just depends on how serious of a boxer that you think Jake Paul is. And I actually think he's a serious boxer at this point. He spends hundreds of thousands of dollars on his body. He has like a state-of-the-art boxing gym in Puerto Rico. He is a real boxer at this point. He trains like one of the most prolific boxers in the world. You may not think he's a prolific boxer, but he trains like one. And, you know, Mike Tyson has only fought once in the past 4 years against Roy Jones Jr. He was closer to his age. And then since then, he hasn't been in the ring in like 20 years.
Yeah.
So I just think Jake's kind of even at those odds at a minus 200. I'm just going to hammer it. I think Jake. I don't feel good about this fight for Mike Tyson at all. I hope that there's some sort of like under the table deal that they're not going to like go. That Jake's not going to go super hard because I don't want to see. I don't want to see a 58-year-old man getting knocked out on Netflix. I really don't want to see that. And if I do see that, I'm going to be very disappointed with the decision to make this fight at all. And I understand that Mike Tyson has autonomy over himself. He's a grown man. He can make that decision. But sometimes you have to protect people from themselves. And like Jake Paul is a real power puncher. Like he's knocked out men his, like Tyron Woodley. So like, what's to stop him from knocking out Mike Tyson at his age, whose chin did start to fail him in his like mid 30s at the later point of his heavyweight career. His chin started to give out. What do you think his chin's going to be like at 58 years old? Like it could be one punch and he's done. I just hope we don't see something ugly in this fight. I hope it's competitive. I think Mike, if he's going to win, he has to get it done like the first 2 rounds, because he's clearly shown that he's going to gas out. He can do it in short spurts. I don't see him being able to have the cardio to hang with Jake over like, what is it, 8 rounds? I'm not actually sure how many rounds this fight is. 10 rounds?
Not sure how many rounds it is either.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that Mike has to get it done in like the first 2 rounds, or it's
an 8 round. It's 8 2-minute rounds is what it says.
Yeah. So
that probably favors Mike at this point.
Yeah, the fact that it's not a little longer, sure.
Well, it's also 2-minute rounds instead of 3-minute rounds.
Yeah, I think Mike needs to win by KO in the first 2 rounds. Otherwise, I think I'm gonna hammer Jake in this one. I actually think that the odds should be a little higher in his favor. I know that sounds crazy, but I do.
Yeah. No, I could agree with you. I actually think you brought up an interesting point about Jake and boxing. I think what a lot of people fail to realize is that most fighters, boxers, MMA fighters, whatever you want to call it, come from like poor backgrounds, right? And a lot of the time they're in it for the money. And then you see someone like Conor McGregor, who made it out of the slums and now is I think he's a multi-billionaire. I don't know. Maybe
he's close to a billionaire. I'm not sure actually.
Yeah. But then you have people like Conor McGregor who make the money and then they stop training, right? But someone like Jake Paul is doing it out of a little love for the sport and actually wanting to succeed. And he's already made his money. So now he can afford to do all this high level training. So he actually does care about the sport and he actually is training very hard to be able to do it. And I think that's very impressive and deserves some respect. So I like that point you brought up there for sure.
Yeah, he deserves respect. I don't know if he should be fighting a 58-year-old retired boxer if he wants to be taken seriously by boxing fans. But I do think that like the point about why I get like a little frustrated with this fight and I don't like it. I don't like the fact that this fight was made is because I do respect Jake Paul as a boxer. Like I do think he's a real boxer. Like imagine he wants to call out Canelo after this fight. You want to call out Canelo after fighting Mike? If you're serious, if you want to, what would Jake Paul say if Canelo was fighting Mike Tyson? What would Jake Paul have to say about that? Seriously, like, what do you think he would have to say about it? He probably he might be tempted to criticize it. If he's taking, I don't know, I don't know. I know age is just a number, but it's important for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, Jake's going about it with he wants to fight high level people who were clearly at one point high level. He doesn't really care if they are high level anymore, but he's also going for headlines, right? So
yeah,
it's a balance.
Of course.
Yeah. But anyway, let's get into UFC here because that's what we know, that's what we love. We're gonna start with, I don't even know if this is like an actual like title, but is this like the feature early prelim? Is that what you can call this fight? I don't know.
It's one of them.
Yeah, it's the final early prelim, which is pretty crazy to see a 9th ranked fighter fighting against a pretty good up and coming prospect in the early prelims. But I think just the way the card worked out, this was a last minute addition to the card as well. Jonathan Diniz was supposed to fight Derek Lewis in UFC Edmonton. Lewis pulled out. I actually don't think it ever was clarified why he pulled out of the fight.
It was not,
right? So interesting to see. The Derek Lewis matchup for Jonathan Diniz was actually a lot more favorable because, as you can see by the kind of stats I have on screen here, he doesn't like going to the ground too much. He never goes to the ground. He's good on his feet. He's got insane power. Jonathan Diniz has 7 knockouts in his 8 fights. He's 8-0. He's 2-0 in the UFC. And yeah, so Derek Lewis is a favorable matchup, but Tybura is a more knockoutable opponent, in my opinion. Marcin Tybura has been knocked out 5 times in his 9 losses. He was submitted to by Sergey Spivak in his last fight in the first round. Then the fight before that, he beat Tai Tuivasa by submission. And then the fight before that, he lost to Tom Aspinall in the first round by knockout. Right. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think Jonata is younger. He's faster. He should be the pick. The question is, can he keep the fight on his feet? I think what Tybura is going to try to do is he's going to try to close the distance. He's going to try to take him to the ground. He averages 1.42 takedowns per fight. I think Diniz has some good takedown defense at 70%, which should hold up against Tybura in a sense. But you do have to keep in mind that Carl Williams took down Jonathan Diniz twice in their fight, and Austin Lane took him down once. So if he does get taken down, can he get back up? That's really the factor here, because I think he's going to be taken down at least once. Or can he just avoid getting taken down and finish this fight in the first round? I'm still going with Jonathan Diniz. I'm going with the underdog at plus 124. He might get fraud checked by Tybura, but I do kind of like Diniz, and I think he might be able to get the knockout against a older opponent here.
Yeah, and I actually love the odds on DraftKings, plus 124 on DraftKings. Not sure what we have on. Yeah, same odds. I like those odds a lot for a guy who's undefeated, who's 7 of his 8 wins are he's 8-0, 7 of his 8 wins by knockout. I like that idea. Obviously, we know how Tybura's path to victory is here. It's going to be taking him down and trying to submit him here. Yeah, I like this a lot for Diniz. I think you can bet. I can't imagine you're going to find much more like comfortable underdog picks. I know it's only plus 124, but I'm pretty comfortable on that. Just going money line.
Tybura here is what he's 3 in his last 5, and he's only 1 in his last 3. He's a high level guy. He's fought against some big names. He's beaten some big names, but I think he's coming to the end of his ropes here. And
I don't like how many strikes he absorbs. I know that the MMA math doesn't always add up. I get it. I don't like him taking like 3.5 strikes per round. What is that, per minute?
It's per minute. Yeah.
I don't like that. For heavyweight, especially against a guy like this who's kind of a knockout artist. I would consider betting comfortably on knockout too. I wonder what that is.
Plus 185, I think.
Yeah.
So no,
they're right there with me. So you just bet money line then. You're not getting that much extra juice on knockout. Just bet money line.
It's actually pretty funny. The odds for the fight to end by knockout, just in general, by either or, is minus 110.
That's hilarious.
So I think the odd makers are really favoring the knockout here, and I just don't know how you favor the knockout for Tybura. So
yeah, if he's a plus 400, you feel like you would actually gain a little extra juice.
But anyways, I know we don't talk about prelims often, but we're going to talk about the feature prelim here. We got Jonathan Martinez versus Marcus Mcghee. Jonathan Martinez was a hot up and coming prospect. I think he was on a significant win streak. I forget what it was, but he was doing pretty well. Like I think he was on like a 7-fight win streak, and then he lost to Jose Aldo in Brazil, which was he was the favorite going into that fight, but nobody was surprised that Jose Aldo beat him. It kind of looked like he was like starstruck in a sense. I don't know. You're losing to Aldo in his hometown, and it's just the lights were too bright for him.
Yeah.
Marcus Mcghee, on the other hand, he's on a 5-win streak. He's 9-1 in his professional career, and he's 3-0 in the UFC. So he's done some good stuff there. Mcghee hasn't really fought any high level talent, and although Jonathan Martinez hasn't necessarily either to a massive extent, he does have the experience against Jose Aldo, right? He's also beaten Adrian Yanez, who is better than anyone that Marcus Mcghee has fought. Mcgee's got 8 knockouts and 1 submission for his 9 wins. It's interesting. I personally, and this might be like I'm trying to do too much here, but I think Martinez is being slept on a little bit. Like being the underdog in this fight at plus 120 feels a little weird. I think I said this back when he fought Jose Aldo. You usually have this like prospect versus veteran fight, and sometimes the prospect is usually undefeated, and sometimes the prospect needs to take a loss to be able to learn how to win bigger fights. And I think that's exactly what happened during Jose Aldo. I think he's going to come in a lot better into this fight. I think he probably learned a lot during his Jose Aldo fight, and I think he's going to get the win. And I think it's going to go to decision, and he's pulled out decision wins before, which Marcus Mcghee hasn't gone to decision before. So it's going to be new for him. But that's kind of what I'm seeing for this fight here.
Yeah, I actually totally agree with you. I read it the exact same way. I think that they are sleeping on him a little. It's a little interesting just when you consider, you mentioned the competition level. I mean, uh, we've got a guy who's fought Jose Aldo, Adrian Yanez, Saeed Nurmagomedov, Cub Swanson.
Yeah.
You know, those are some good names. And then Marcus Mcghee, who's fought Gaston Bolanos, JP Buys, Journey Newsome, and then was fighting in the LFA before
Yeah.
that.
And you don't recognize a single name in the UFC there. At
Yeah.
least I don't.
Also a 4-year age difference too, 4 years younger. That being said, I agree with everything you said. I'm still rolling with Marcus Mcghee because he's my boy. I have to go with him. I like Marcus a lot. I love the way he fights.
Yeah.
He absolutely he's an animal on the feet. He really is. Like, he's fun to watch. He has a great style, and this should be a fun stand-up fight. I mean, I don't love the bet. I would advise you to probably consider taking Martinez, but I'm gonna go with Marcus just because he's my guy. I've interviewed him a couple times. He's a really cool dude, and I'm a skateboarder. He's a skateboarder, so I gotta show some love.
Hell yeah. Yeah. No, I like, with these fights, sometimes you gotta go with your heart.
Yeah, exactly. No, this one's definitely a go with my heart pick. No,
Yeah.
100%.
Before we go on to the main card, we do have a special message from our good friends at DraftKings. UFC 309 is finally here. It's the battle of the GOATs. Who will come out on top? The nice thing is Inside Fighting has partnered up with DraftKings. So all new DraftKings customers who bet $5 will receive $200 in instant bonus bets that you can use on whatever you'd like. All you have to do is use code Inside Fighting. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today to receive your promo offer. That's how she goes, baby. Get the $200 in bonus bets. Battle of the GOATs. I forgot I said that. I mean, it's true. We got the pound for
Jake
pound
Paul versus Mike Tyson.
Yeah. Yeah, we got the YouTube GOAT versus the boxing GOAT. No.
Yeah.
No, Jon Jones versus Stipe is gonna be an interesting fight. We'll obviously touch on it in a second here. But yeah, let's go with the main card opener here. Mauricio,
like Apex card? What's going on here?
I know. Mauricio versus Ruffy versus James Llontop, I think is how you pronounce it, with the double L. And I think he's Peruvian or Chilean. I forget which one it was. And it's probably not James. It's probably James. But anyway, Mauricio Ruffy is a fighting nerd. We saw the fight nerds get a win last weekend, I think, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was Carlos Paredes, who's fucking sick, dude. The guy smokes 8 to 10 cigarettes a day, and it doesn't matter because he doesn't need cardio. He just knocks everyone out anyway.
Why do you need cardio if you're knocking them out in the first round? You don't need it.
Exactly. And that's exactly what's going to happen in this fight. Mauricio Ruffy's got 10 knockouts and his 10 wins. I think he's 1-0 in the UFC. I think he just made his debut, so he hasn't fought too much in the UFC. But I think Ruffy or Ruffy, whatever, is he's got KO power. I think we might see him mix it up a little bit in this fight, even though he doesn't need to, because it looks like James or James enjoys fighting on his feet as well. It's not like he's going for any takedowns. I think we're going to see a knockout. I think he's more technical. I think he's more powerful. And I think he's just he's probably going to get a first round KO and continue his win streak.
Yeah, I appreciate your breakdown. I have nothing to add to it. I'm not going to bet any money on this fight, if I'm just going to be honest.
Minus 800, would you?
Yeah, no, I don't love the odds. I mean, bet the house on Ruffy, I guess, or put a sprinkle on Llontop.
Yeah.
Because this is just not, I don't know. I'd be honest. I'm like, I haven't watched enough of either guy to give a good answer, but I just hate the odds. I'm not gonna bet any money on it. But Ruffy
is minus 150. Minus 150 for a knockout, which is actually a pretty good bet.
There you go. That's your bet.
Yeah, that's probably what I would go with as well. James here, I just want to look up real quick. I wonder how many times he's been knocked out. Oh, he's never been knocked out before, so that's probably why it's only minus 150. So it'll be a first.
Yeah. How many knockouts does Ruffy have? 10 out of 10. 10 out of
Yeah, 10
10.
out of 10. That's why. And I don't think this fight's going to decision.
It's
for sure.
crazy. The fight nerds, like, they're all knockout artists. They're not like, I mean, I know they have submissions, but like Kyle Barrio is a knockout artist. Carlos Prades is a knockout artist. Mauricio Ruffy is a knockout artist. They're doing something different. They're not prioritizing that jujitsu as much in that fight nerds team. They're going for knockouts. I like that. I respect that.
Yeah. Yeah. Going on to our next fight, though. Viviane Araujo versus Karine Silva. This is another one of those. Prospect versus veteran. Which is always weird when you have like a prospect in their 30s, but I think it's just sometimes like that in MMA, you know. Karine Silva, she's 4-0 in the UFC. She's got 3 submission wins and 1 decision win. She's 18-4 overall. Viviane Araujo, she's only 2-5, or 2 in her last 5. She's lost to the likes of Natalia Silva, Amanda Ribas, Alexa Grasso, and then she's got a win in there versus Jennifer Maia. I think kind of what happened is Araujo took a couple big losses against 2 really good opponents, being Grasso and Ribas. And then she dropped to a lesser opponent, got the win, and then she fought Natalia Silva, who's a better opponent, and then took the loss again. I think Karine Silva is one of those better opponents that she's going to be facing. And I think she's probably going to get the win here. She's really good on the ground. It's probably going to go to decision. She's got 0% takedown defense because no one's tried taking her down. No one's taken her down for sure, but I don't know if anyone's tried. But yeah, I think she's just better overall. She's younger, hungrier. I think she's probably going to get the win here against a 37-year-old Araujo.
Yeah, this is my lock of the night. And I would actually consider that it might not go to decision because Silva has close to a 100% finish rate, half knockout, half submission. So she does get a lot of finishes. She only has 1 decision out of her 18 wins.
Mm-hmm.
So she is an action fighter. She's a submission hunter, and I don't normally like to take betting on finish for women's fights, but I'm considering it here and just looking at the odds. Give me a
Yeah,
second.
the submission finish is definitely a decent shout. What the one thing I'll say is before she got into the UFC, she was a knockout artist. Like before she got into the UFC, she had 9 knockout wins and only 5 submissions.
Right.
Now she's 9 knockouts and 8 submissions because 3 of her 4 UFC wins have been by submission.
Plus 330 submission, plus 800 KO.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm considering. I kind of like plus 330 submission. But if you want to combine them, and you want to just go by submission, double chance submission, and I think there's a way to do that, right?
I do think so. Yeah, I have to pull it up, but I actually know for sure there is.
I don't have it here, but winning by submission and or knockout, combining those two, you might get like a plus 100, plus 200 type of situation. I would consider it.
Yeah. Let's see here if I can figure this out. Might be too slow.
Yeah, I'm like looking and I don't see it on DraftKings.
Yeah. So Karine Silva by KO or submission is plus 240.
I'm into that. I am. I'm kind of into it.
But submission or decision is minus 245, which I think is her exact odds of winning, minus 265. So they're really thinking that it's going to be sub or decision.
Yeah, then if that's the case, I would just bet money line. I would never make that bet ever.
Yeah. I guess people are just like with Araujo being such a vet. The question is, will she get subbed? You know, because she's pretty good on the ground as well. So, and she's got good takedown defense too.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. She might. This is definitely one of her tougher fights, no question about it.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. Going on to the feature fight of the night, Bo Nickal versus Paul Craig. This is going to be, I don't want to say it's going to be like a first round submission for Bo here, but it probably will be. He's minus 1100 for a reason. Crazy stat in his, I think 3 UFC fights. Yeah, he's 3-0 in the UFC. In his 3 UFC fights, he's only has 16 total strikes thrown. It's crazy.
They were all on Valentine Woodburn. Who was it that he knocked out?
Something like that. Yeah.
There's this like short, stocky black dude that he knocked out. I forget his name. Who
Yeah.
kind of looks like Torres
Val
Finney.
Woodburn.
Huh?
Val Woodburn.
Yeah, it was him. I'm pretty sure like all of his strikes went into that fight because that was the only fight where he didn't go to the ground in his career. And he knocked him out in like the first, like, I don't know what it was, 2 minutes of that fight.
Yeah, he actually had 7 there, and then he had 8 against Cody Brundage.
Okay, got it. That makes sense. That does make sense. All right.
And then in his against Jamie Pickett in his first fight, he only had 1.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
Yeah, I think Bo's got it all the way. And like stylistically, like this is just like Paul Craig, he will make you tap, you know, like that. He's good. He's a submission artist in a sense. 17 wins, 4 knockouts, 13 submissions.
Yeah.
But he's not stopping you from getting taken down. And I think when you give Bo the chance to keep taking you down like that, I think you're giving Bo the upper hand, and I think he's going to win.
Yeah, here's what I'll say about this fight. I look forward to the face-off when Paul Craig is wearing his Braveheart face paint and he's screaming in Bo Nickal's face, and then he's like acting super intense. And then the second they get into the octagon, he's gonna pull guard and lay on his back and try to lure Bo into a triangle choke. This is what Paul Craig does. It's the best jiu-jitsu fighter Bo Nickal's ever fought. No question about it. I'm not sure if this is even the best fighter he's ever fought. I know that he's like the best name he's fought so far. But Paul Craig is he's on the outs. He's a prize fighter at this point. I mean, it's Bo Nickal all the way here, but I do want to say that I would absolutely lose my shit if like Bo's on top, dominating, hunting for a submission, hunting for a ground and pound, and then Paul Craig's taking a beating and then just throws up the triangle and somehow gets him in a choke, because this is what Paul Craig does. He's found a way to do it all of his biggest wins have always been when he's losing, and then he just throws up a triangle. He uses his jiu-jitsu and his guard, and he finds a way out of it. That's how he got Magomed Ankalaev to tap. That's what he did to Jamal Hill. I don't think he'll do it to Bo Nickal, though. I think this is an easy win for Bo. I wouldn't even touch the odds. Throw him in a parlay if you're going to bet this at all.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'll say about Bo Nickal, though. What do they do with him after this fight? Do you think that they're going to like? Do you think he gets a ranked fight next?
I think he'd have to.
Yeah, because I feel like this is like Paul Craig is sort of like the fight before a ranked fight. So I think he's going to have to be.
He's not like traditionally a gatekeeper, but like it feels like that, right?
It is. It does. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And you know what? Bo has been very vocal about it. He's like, I know I'm good, but I'm not just going to jump and fight the best fighter out there because I think I'm good. I want to kind of work my way up the ranks, beat like bigger and bigger opponents. Like I want to take 1 step at a time. I don't want to jump 5 steps ahead, you know, because when you jump 5 steps ahead, well, you have the, when Whitaker knocked out that other guy who beat Chimaev or who lost to Chimaev as well.
Oh, Ikram. Yeah.
Ikram, right? Like that's what happens when you jump 10 steps. You get knocked out. So it's take it easy. There's no rush. But anyway, co-main event, we got Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler 2. Charles Oliveira got the better of Michael Chandler in the first fight, although I think it was the end of the first round where Mike was on top of Oliveira, ground and pounding away, trying to get the TKO. It's an interesting fight, to say the least. I think that, you know, like Chandler's UFC career hasn't been all glam, but he's only fought high-level fighters, right? He's fought Poirier, he's fought Oliveira, he's fought some big names, and I don't know. I think Oliveira won their first fight. I think Oliveira is going to lose their second fight, which I hate to say, even though he's such a big favorite. I just like the way I've seen Michael Chandler prep for this fight. He's been prepping so hard. He's been on the sidelines for so long waiting for Conor. And I think he's going to come out with like actually wanting to prove something to the world and being like, I'm not Conor's bitch in a sense, you know, like I'm still a great fighter. And I think that hunger for someone like Mike helps him to win. But yeah.
Dude, I'm right there with you. I was hoping you pick Oliveira just so I could disagree with you. I'm picking Chandler. This is actually my favorite bet on the card.
I know. I put money on him earlier today, just like money line.
Yeah, Chandler had Oliveira hurt in his last
Yeah.
fight, like seriously hurt. And like, if he just doesn't make dumb decisions, he would have been champion. Um, I like this a lot. I think obviously, like, we know how Oliveira can win. He's amazing. Charles Oliveira is amazing. But like you said, Chandler's been out for 2 years. He's healthy. He's been working hard. He is 38. So my decision will be swayed a little bit if I see him in the first few minutes and he just doesn't look the same. He doesn't look as explosive. That could be a problem against a guy like Oliveira. But no, I like this bet a lot, and I actually think it could be something spectacular. I think we could see Chandler knocking him out, and it'll be something special. Like, I see a performance bonus coming Michael Chandler's way. I think like the UFC wants to I think they want to do right by Chandler, because he really did them he waited a long time trying to make that Conor fight happen. It almost I mean, I just want something good to happen for Michael Chandler. I'm really rooting for him,
Yeah. Yeah. And Oliveira's been knocked out before. It wouldn't be a first.
Yeah.
So
I think it's gonna happen.
I think so too.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a sad sight to see, because I love Oliveira. Most people love Oliveira, but yeah, it's written in the stars, if you ask me.
Could you imagine? And then he's going to take the number 2 ranking from Oliveira. Michael Chandler will be the number 2 fighter. And then there's going to be talk about him fighting Islam Makhachev, assuming Islam gets through Arman in January or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, unreal. Unreal. What a turn of events.
I think it's better for the UFC that way too. Like, Oliveira's already lost to Arman. He's already lost to Islam. Like, those fights are like not boring, but like, you feel like he's just going to lose again. So you might as well get Michael Chandler in the mix there.
And then he beats Islam, right? and then he calls out Conor McGregor. So Conor McGregor can just wait 4 years and he'll just get a title shot. He doesn't even have to take a fight. He'll just get immediate title shot.
That'd be funny as fuck.
Yeah. I think Conor would take that one. I'll be honest. I don't think he'll back out of that one.
Yeah. Well, there's more to gain, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's the easy way to the top. Anyways, main event of the night. I feel like we should have, like, this was the picture of Jon Jones on the UFC website, but like, I feel like with their background, it blends in. I think the new pictures they posted today would have been way better with the lighting.
Oh yeah. I think that's also from when he was a light heavyweight champion too.
I think so too, but I think that's what they had on their site listed, which is funny.
Okay. Yeah.
But anyway, Jon Jones, Stipe Miocic. Yeah, Jon Jones is going to win this fight. There's not much to say here. I think he's the GOAT. I do think people are undervaluing Stipe, because I think he looks really good during the weigh-ins. He looks better than most heavyweights when they weigh in. But he's old, man. He's fucking old.
Yeah, he is.
He hasn't fought in a lot of years. He's coming off of a loss. And don't get me wrong, you get knocked out by Francis Ngannou the way he did, which was a bad knockout, I think. Even though I've been seeing some things online saying, oh, it wasn't as bad of a knockout as people say it was. I think it was. But he's had 3 years now to recover. So I don't think he's like chinny because of it. I just think he's old, man. And I think Jon Jones is fucking good. I think he's not better than he's ever been, but he's still good old Jon Jones. And I think he's going to get the knockout. And then from the sounds of it, he wants to fight Alex Pereira. And I think he's probably got every right to do so. But that's a topic for another time, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we all know the fight that should be happening right now should be a unification bout between Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall. But the truth is, this was the fight the UFC has been wanting to make for the past year and a half. So we as fans kind of just have to accept it. It made sense at the time when Jon Jones won and then called out Stipe, only because that's where the heavyweight division was. It wasn't clear. There wasn't a clear path for
Tom was a nobody back. Not a nobody, but
Aspinall was out. Aspinall was injured. His knee blew out, so he hadn't even fought. And then Aspinall's had 3 fights since that night, whereas Jon Jones hasn't fought since that night. So we've seen the rise of Tom Aspinall in that time. And yes, that should be the fight that we're seeing on Saturday night. It should be a unification bout. But this is a legacy fight. Purely, that's all it is. It's a legacy fight. The heavyweight GOAT versus the light heavyweight versus the all-time GOAT, basically. And I love Stipe. I hope that he has moments in this fight. I hope that he clips Jon at some point and it makes it interesting. But I see submission for Jon being like a real possibility here, just because I don't think Jon's going to want to be on his feet too much against Stipe. It just, I just think that like that's the one way Stipe can win. So I don't think Jon's going to give him that. His fight IQ is too high. I could see a lot of takedowns in this fight, and submission at a plus 200 kind of feels like the right bet for me.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it'll be an interesting fight. I think it'll be a quick one. Honestly, I don't think it'll go too long. Probably first or second round finish, I'd assume.
yeah, I wonder if what the over under is.
I'm not sure actually.
Under total rounds. It's a plus 114 to bet Jon over 2.5 rounds right now. So
okay, yeah, so under 2.5 rounds. That's the exact same way I have it. Is what I'm thinking.
So yeah.
But yeah, okay. So I think we were together on every single fight, which doesn't happen often, but it happens.
It doesn't. Well, no, I picked Marcus Mcghee.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
But that was a hard pick, so we're still on the same
exactly.
page,
No, I think we were pretty much aligned on this card.
Yeah. But no, I'm excited. If you're watching this and you want to film some content out in New York, I'm happy to do so. I'm here till Sunday. But no, it's been a pleasure, brother. Looking forward to seeing these fights, and I'll catch you on the next episode.
Let's go, Iron Mike.
Yes, sir.
Both of them, both Iron Mikes.
Yeah.